Soon, Ripple and METACO will reveal two enormous bank alliances. Jeremy Hogan will share with us his thoughts on the settlement between Ripple and the SEC. I also have some fantastic clips here, including one where they talk about the Federal Reserve and maybe even mention XRP and Ripple. I just want to go over the other clips that we have here. This video is going to be fantastic. I sincerely hope you will accompany me on this journey. Now let's get started. These days we have two main prospects. I can't say what it is, but maybe you'll read about it in the news soon. Both of them, actually, it's three, are adopting the SaaS operating model, which really astonished me. Additionally, this applies to both the secure and non-secure components. This implies that software as a service is their core management mechanism. No longer is it on-prem. It's not in their cellar anymore. They no longer have it in their 8 division. And these are actual, well-intentioned creatures that work for banks. And the fact that there has been a change in perspective in that direction really favorably surprised me. There is a change in perspective in that regard. Major banks are currently reevaluating how best to use blockchain technology and forming alliances with infrastructure firms such as your HBARs and Ripples. We saw a lot of exciting developments with BlackRock and the HBAR, and technology is not going away. It's really thrilling. I watched this video as well, and I'm going to talk to you about something really fascinating about it. Permit me to perform it. Additionally, I have to play the video, then go back and pause it at a specific point in the video. I'll play it for you though. The combination of fresh skills with the fundamental trust that central bank money offers. We employ the metaphor of a tree throughout the chapter, with the central bank acting as the sturdy trunk, supporting the array of services offered by banks and other intermediaries. And in this way, the services derived from the tree have their literal roots in the final settlement recorded on the balance sheet of the central bank. Let me quickly demonstrate this for you. And could you please assist me if you are not a subscriber to the channel? Our goal is to reach 25,000 subscribers. On the channel, we are achieving some crazy numbers. We're getting more views, but I've seen channels with 5 or 6 times as many subscribers. Therefore, I am incredibly grateful for all of your support. We also send out a newsletter every week. Members have access to a variety of seed round events taking on Inside Krypton Aries, including some very amazing things. If you want to look at this, there are links for all that jazz down in the description. However, let's return to this, since it's worth mentioning, tokenized deposits and assets. All right, this is actually what our mentality should be concentrated on. Yes, trillions of dollars are held by banks. In the United States, banks alone hold between $20 and $30 trillion, merely sitting there and performing various tasks. However, consider the day when all of this value is tokenized inside the banks. There will be a Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo for you. All of you will possess these steady coinage that these banks will possess. Naturally, my prediction is that Ripple will produce its own stablecoin in this situation. The XRP ledger has the value, and we will discuss that in more detail in a clip that will play later in this video. Additionally, all of these banks' deposits can be tokenized based on their combined value. Additionally, they can have steady coins from Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or Chase. But even with that, you will still need a strong bridge asset between those banks because neither Wells Fargo nor Chase can store the stablecoin, and neither bank can hold the assets of the other bank because of risk. I was searching for risk, but I was unable to locate any. But risk prevents banks from holding each other's assets. That's what we need to comprehend in this situation. The private sector, retail and wholesale CBDC, fast payment rails, electronic money, open banking, smart contracts, autonomous wallets, and tokenized deposits are all examples. Yes, just think of the hundreds of trillions of dollars that are in circulation worldwide and adding so much value to blockchains. That's the anticipation we have, and we're thrilled about that. As you can see, Washington, D.C. is home to the Ripple team. Lots of things are happening. This is the video of Jeremy Hogan discussing when he believes that all will be forgotten and how much the fine will be. Quoting an appropriate civil penalty, accounting for both comparative and discretionary factors, would not exceed $10 million. That would be proportionate in both percentage and dollar amount to comparable digital asset cases where there was no culpable mental state and no substantial risk of harm or risk of harm to others. I believe I left something out, but that would reflect about Ripple's actual gross revenues from pre-complaint institutional sales. That being said, the SEC was asking for $1.95 billion prior to Google. Furthermore, according to Ripple, since no one was hurt, there shouldn't even be an injunction, and it should simply be required to pay a total of $10 million. They are unable to demonstrate any harm to buyers or investors. Furthermore, $10 million would be a fair fine in light of previous fines. Therefore, based on what we've seen in the case thus far, I would predict that the final decision will be made this summer. I'm estimating July or August. After then, regardless of the decision, I believe both parties submit notices of appeal, and the case is heard by the DCA Appeals Court the following year. If I were the SEC, I wouldn't appeal it because, well, faulty facts lead to bad law, but that's just me. I'm not sure if the SEC can simply ignore this. To them, everything feels incredibly intimate. It seems quite private. Either way, that's my decision. $100 million plus an order for the institutional sales. We'll see if I'm way off aim or if I strike the bullseye. Additionally, Jeremy stated that he believes this will be finished by summer. We're all waiting for banks to actually start using the asset, so it would be great to put this whole thing behind us and observe whether that happens. The last shoe to fall. Additionally, a lot of people are publishing these items through to the end. However, Ripple would benefit greatly from this if it paid the $10 million and $100 billion fines. Naturally, the total value of their assets is just approximately $1 billion. Therefore, a lawsuit worth $2 billion would completely destroy Ripple. Therefore, I'm not sure if the judge will go that far. It is my belief that the judge has taken into consideration the fact that the SEC has based its whole case on a number of quite dubious legal facts and incidents. Nothing here should be construed as legal advice, as I am not an attorney. However, the SEC's actions against Ripple are obviously biased. They've done things in the past that have left people scratching their heads and baffled as to why Ripple is being treated differently by the SEC. And the previous administration carried out all of this, correct? The Ethereum Foundation sent $15 million to the administration led by Jay Clayton, who was billed for it. And there's a benefit, surely. It appears to be a bribe. We'll have to wait and see whether they look into that. Interesting. Hence the last stage of therapies. We'll see how XRP turns out, I take it. At the Supreme Court, you have Brad Garlinghouse and Stuart Alderati. I then obtained this video. I've already seen this clip, but it's really, really good. Can you say David Aldeflatio from the U.S. Federal Reserve without using his last name? The U.S. Federal Reserve is aware of Ripple's identity, correct? It truly excites me that you don't hear them discussing any other assets. How can you trust the Fed to handle the bookkeeping, they ask. As I mentioned earlier, my answer is that you shouldn't anticipate the Fed to take your money. It's not like the Fed can pass accounting if it can produce all the money it wants. So this massive spreadsheet, you could call it the blockchain, is merely overseen by the Federal Reserve. If you're ready to hand off the accountability to a third party, it's also quite affordable, much less expensive than Bitcoin anyway. Of course, the drawback to all of that is that it would seem that you didn't want the Fed to handle payment processing. Let's say that the Federal Reserve is placing KYC requirements on some purchases. Certain purchases that you might want to make might not be processed by them. I then mentioned that, well, if we wanted to take the idea a step further, we could. I'm not claiming that this will occur in the future. Nevertheless, conceptually speaking, you may envision the Fed issuing these Bitcoin-like items rather than sending out Fed wire transfers to everyone. However, they would impose a par exchange rate with the US dollar, which would remove the volatility of the exchange rate. However, they might assign the clearing of these payments to a third party, perhaps even Bitcoin, or a technology akin to Ripple. I mean, we could assign the miners the task of handling the electronic Fed currency payments. Additionally, the notion would be, fine. He did not appear out of nowhere, is he not? These are undoubtedly ongoing conversations on the best possible technologies that they are considering. Guys, I don't think it will be Bitcoin. It moves too slowly, it's too expensive, and, the general theme is that governments believe it to be energy heavy, despite the fact that some people believe it to be and others do not. Thus, they will not make use of that privilege. KYC is not present. AML does not exist. Checks for sanctions are absent. They will employ a cryptocurrency similar to XRP